Hey my friends, and welcome to the channel. Today I wanted to chat with you and just kind of have a coffee chat vibe video. It's a beautiful day outside, and this week I saw a post that really got me thinking about what I wanted to share with y'all on Eating Disorder Awareness Month or week or whichever it is right now. Now, I had the video all ready and prepared to react to, and then it got pulled down. So if I can put it right here, I will, to show you some context of what I'm talking about today. But essentially the video asked the question, are we lying to our children by telling them that it's okay to have soda or it's okay to have McDonald's sometimes? Or certain foods, like I think she threw out Twizzlers and candy and stuff like that, is okay. Are we just too soft to tell them the truth about food, was essentially the question. And let's give this woman some grace here. I think that she meant well, but has been a little bit misled with what the actual meaning of some of those originating thoughts were. So let's talk about it today. Is it okay to tell kids that quote unquote junk food or food that is not nutritionally well balanced necessarily, like maybe doesn't have a whole lot of value in comparison to some other foods, is it okay to tell our kids that those foods are okay to eat? And are we just too soft of a society to just get on with it and say, food is food, this is bad food, this is good food? Now here's one issue with the video and the particular question that she was asking. This message has kind of been lost in translation throughout the internet. They're seeing health professionals say all foods fit, or saying that all foods are neutral, and taking that to mean that all foods are nutritionally the same, which is not quite the same thing and not the message that I think most health professionals are trying to say, at least the ones that I know. The message really is that we shouldn't treat foods as good foods and bad foods, because this kind of creates a push and pull relationship with food. It creates a negative relationship with food, especially when we start at a young age with identifying certain foods as good and bad. This is absolutely not to say that an apple or pistachios or chicken is nutritionally equivalent to Pop-Tarts and Twizzlers and McDonald's. We can all agree that there are, nutritionally speaking, differences among these foods. But I think the point and the purpose of the message of all foods fit and don't label foods as good or bad is that it's not really helpful to label these foods. We can identify that they are objectively different, but we shouldn't label them because it's ultimately not helpful for us, and it's not helpful to teach our children about food in this way. Again, this is not me saying as a dietitian that I think Pop-Tarts and apples are the same. It is me saying that both of these foods can be in my diet, but obviously I'm going to prioritize foods that make me feel good by having those the most often. I'm definitely not denying that. Number two, I think the issue at hand is that guilt, shame, and fear-mongering around foods just isn't a good predictor of change. So we can start by saying that it's not good for our mental health. That's point number one. Point number two is that it's actually not conducive to creating behavior change. So if you are someone who, let's just hypothetically say you need to lose weight and your doctor said this for your health, and objectively weight is going to make that change happen or help make that change happen, you are not going to be lovingly supported into creating behavior change, like cutting down on soda, cutting down on fast food, cutting down on maybe you have too many desserts and you need to cut down on that. It is not helpful to press the issue that these foods are terrible for you. I think most average folks can identify that chicken, broccoli, and rice is probably, like, nutritionally speaking, more balanced than your average McDonald's meal. Again, I'm sure there's exceptions, but like on average, we can all agree with that, right? So most people know that they're probably not getting enough fruits and vegetables, probably not getting enough protein. But I think pounding in the message of negativity is not the way we get people to change. I think one of the best ways that I surprise clients, I think, and also help support clients in making the slow, sustainable behavior change is not by taking and ripping away every single thing that they hold dear to them. Say they're having McDonald's 3 times a day. I might start with having McDonald's twice a day and 1 meal at home versus saying 0 McDonald's, take it all away, go cold turkey, and then you'll be perfectly healthy. Because obviously that 0 to 100 is going to quote unquote be the biggest change. And you would think that that would be like the most significant change. But if it's not something that they can stick to and it's not something that they feel good with in the moment, then they're not going to do it for more than a week or a month or 2 months. And that's not what we want. We want long-lasting, sustainable change that feels good from the inside out. And you just don't get that through fear-mongering people about making specific dietary changes. And I especially worry about using fear-mongering with children because this is just a recipe for eating disorders. I had an eating disorder when I was a teenager, and there was a lot of different factors going into it. I definitely think the magazines that I was reading didn't help with that, the messaging in the media, not just magazines. And then also some messaging that I saw from my peers and from, maybe some people that I saw talk negatively about their weight or how they perceived eating certain foods was. So remember that kids are very vulnerable to this stuff and we don't want to contribute to that. So let's use more positive reinforcement versus negative reinforcement. And then also let's focus on slow, gradual change, not just 0 to 100 change. And then my third point that I wanted to talk about today is what I described in my notes that I'm looking at as the lean in method. So I think that the best way, besides the one that I just mentioned, I think one of the best ways to promote behavior change is to lean into what we want versus push away from what we don't want. So when we focus on not having McDonald's, we kind of set ourselves up to focus on what we're not having. When we focus on not having junk food, we really obsess and stress about the junk food that we're not having. But when we focus on what we want to have more of, like in our example of fast food and McDonald's, we focus on wanting to have that extra meal at home and wanting to meal prep a little bit more or wanting to have more fruits and vegetables. That's going to help us have a more positive association with the changes that we're making versus feeling like we're being punished and like we're a child being told what to do. And that inner child is going to resist by any means necessary to protect our ego, to protect our sense of self, and to protect, to feel like we're in control. I think we all have an inherent need to feel like we're in control of our lives, in control of our food choices, in control of ourselves. Especially if you're a perfectionist like me, I know that that's one of the things that really messed up my relationship with food is feeling like I wanted that control. And I think even if you're not in an eating disorder mindset, you still want to feel that sense of autonomy. And when we try to focus on taking out the bad, it just doesn't make us feel like we're in the driver's seat. And again, it doesn't set us up for long-term change. That positive psychology is really what we need to get there. And so I always say, prioritize what to add, not what to subtract. And I'll give one last analogy too for this one, because I think it's important to kind of draw parallels between different topics as we think about food, so we can kind of make that association. So several years back, and I think for a majority of my life, I struggled with panic attacks. And I searched far and wide for solutions to getting over panic because I knew logically the panic was not helping me, but I still struggled with it no matter what. And it kept coming back even after years and years. So one of the lessons that I learned about panic attacks was that if you try to not think about the pink elephant, you're going to think about the pink elephant. So that pink elephant is anxiety. If you try to say, I want this anxiety to stop, stop thinking of the worry, stop thinking of the anxiety, and that will help me stop being anxious and stop having this panic attack. But what happens when you say, I want this feeling to stop, is that it tenfolds, it magnifies. And that's kind of what we said in the last one, but just to further emphasize that this is true, it also is true with things like anxiety. And what the lesson actually taught me, and something that really actually started to help me when I was having that panic attack, when I was mid panic attack mode, was lean into it and say, give me more. And the lesson even said, this is going to sound crazy and no one wants more panic, right? But when you tell your body, when that adrenaline is pumping, your heart is pounding, and you are feeling like you want to run away, if you've ever had a panic attack, leave a comment in the comment section below, because they suck. But when you feel that moment, say, give me more. I want my heart to pound more. Or even like do jumping jacks, run if you can, if you're in a place to do that. If you're in a car and you're just like, your mind is racing and you can't breathe, say, give me more, beg for more. And you'll actually find that when you kind of sit in the driver's seat of that moment and you tell your body you want more of that panic, then the panic really doesn't have control over you anymore. So again, I think I went on a long tangent with that, but all of that to say, when we say, I allow all foods to fit into my diet, we are telling our body that we trust it to have certain foods without going out of control with them. We trust our body to make the right decision for our energy and for our well-being. We are giving our body trust, and therefore we can sit back and make a logical decision versus make a decision based on fear, and maybe fear of not having that food again, or fear of never being able to be in control with that food. So I think that we think that all foods fit means that we don't care about our nutrition. And I really just think it's about developing trust with your body, developing a positive relationship with food so you can make decisions that are good for you and not just based on fear, which is not going to give you long-term success with your goals. So I hope that helped. I hope that this commentary gave you some thoughts about why people say all foods fit and why people encourage you to neutralize your relationship with food and say, let's not label foods as good and bad. It's not that we're saying that apples are the same as Pop-Tarts. It's that it is not conducive to a healthy relationship with food, whether we're talking about you, your friend, your neighbor, or your children. So let me know your thoughts and feelings and experiences and stories in the comment section below. I love chatting with you. If you want to dive deeper with me, I'm a dietitian and personal trainer, and my name is Katie, if I didn't mention that in the beginning of the video. And all my links are in the description. So if you want to hang out with me and support the channel, then check those links out and consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video. All right, click or tap the screen if you want to head on over to the next video and continue hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.